Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So today we are continuing on our mountain scene. We've got our background in clouds and the water and our sort of distant trees and a bit of land that we've put together. And so in today's video, we're going to focus on how to make a path. And obviously, a path is just somewhere that, kind of leads in a direction in an open, bare surface. But what we're going to focus on today is creating the indications of direction of the path, as well as distance. So this is going to change in the width of the path as well as the light and dark areas of the path. So the farther it is away, it typically gets a little bit sort of darker. It's kind of harder to see, and we want it to look like it's off into some shadow. And then as it gets closer, it'll be a little bit more lighter color and something that we can see on the contrast of this dark over here. So we're going to start it in the back here and sort of zigzag it through. If you just make a straight path, it also makes it less natural. All right, so we're going to sort of zigzag in between all the tree areas and end up over here and have it sort of dip over behind the trail, okay? And then we'll continue with the next parts of this. So today is just focused on the path. I've got black, brown, yellow, and white. So just some real natural colors. And we're going to use the black and the white to sort of lighten and darken those colors. So again, in the back, we want this to be fairly dark, so I'm not going to use too much of the yellow or the white in that, just a tad so that it is lighter than the dark area that's around it. We're going to make this very, very small in the back, so it's just going to be a tiny little start to this, and then the path will widen, all right? And so rather than brushing this way and brushing this way, that makes the path look closer, because it looks like the ground is moving in one shifted direction, where I'm going to go up and down to indicate that the path is moving left and right within this lateral direction. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here if this doesn't make sense. So I'm going to get some black on my brush here. We'll pull that out a little bit, and I'm going to get some brown in there, quite a bit of brown. Okay, so we want this to just be a real dark brown color, but I don't want it to just be straight brown. Typically, worn earth lightens in color. Once it gets stepped on a bunch, it kind of compacts it and it gets a little bit harder. So I'm going to come just into the yellow a little bit here and lighten this up. Okay, so this is still going to be quite a dark color. And again, I don't know if you can even see this here. All right, but I just want a little bit of the yellow to lighten this. So holding this sideways, my paint's running. There we go. So this is sort of like a real dark tan. All right, so you can see how that yellow really lightens it up. Okay, and it doesn't have to be mixed perfectly, because this is going to be the indication of the background here. So I'm going to come right up in here, and again, I just want the little indication of the start of the path. All right, and so I put one stroke on here. You can't tell, so it means it's not light enough. So I need to add a little bit more of the yellow and make this significantly lighter. So this is how you guys get to test your colors. Okay, go for the idea, mix it up to the place where you think it should be. Okay, let's throw a little bit more yellow in there. I don't want to hit the white, because I want to leave that real bright light color coming forward here. And it will instantly drop that value. It will make it very bright very quickly. So we'll just keep adding a little bit yellow. All right, and you can see that this is lightening it up quite significantly here. So we really just want some indications back in here, okay? So again, a very, very light touch to test, and the smaller this is, okay? So we just have a little bit there, okay? So we're just gonna add a little bit of indications of our path sort of coming over here. And I wanna keep real small strokes, all right? And then our path's gonna come out over here and sort of zigzag this way. And then again, I'm gonna paint it back in here this way. Okay, and it gets a little bit wider as it comes forward. Okay, so we wanna make sure that we're just again creating the indication of a little bit of a path. Okay, so I'm not really making it too big yet. Okay, we can have a little bit that comes over here. All right, and now I want the path to turn the corner, so I'm going to turn the strokes. All right, so you see how this little trough of a stroke creates the indication that now the path is going this way. Okay, so we're just going to keep adding some little strokes in here and just give our path a little sort of lift up the hill, right? And we're just going to indicate the path coming this direction and sort of off over the cliff. Okay? And so we've got sort of a base structure for that, and now we can lighten it up as we come. All right, and again, this will give that indication of some depth and some movement and that sort of thing. I wanted to keep this a little bit flat so that it looks like you sort of plane off. If I make it bigger, it will look like you're almost on a slanted hill. So you don't want this to be too much. I want this to sort of be up the hill, and then it sort of levels off. And then this can stay sort of dark at the edge as it intends to go downhill, okay? So now we've got our color. I'm going to touch just a little bit of white into this, and I'm just going to go to a corner of this. I don't need to make the entire thing this color. All right, so I'm just making a little bit more of a lighter gray-brown. And the more of a tan color you desire, the more yellow you'll want to put into it. So just a little bit lighter again. And again, the lighter these indications are, the less of them there are, the more impressionist this will be, okay? So I just want a little bit, and it's hard to even just barely touch sometimes. Okay, so I want this to come down, and a little bit of it going this way. Okay, so just real light touches is the key, guys. Okay, you just want to put a tiny bit of paint on there. And this brush definitely, doesn't have the finest tip ever. So even if you wanted to make this a little bit finer strokes, you know what I mean? Because I can use the corner of this brush and sort of make some things happen. All right, and now that we're getting a little bit closer here, we can start to make it a little bit more of a pronounced thing going on. So rather than continue to hand paint every little piece in here, we can cover some distance with the knife, okay? And the knife allows you to break the paint a little bit more than having these individual streaks like this. Okay, so I'm going to marble this paint up just a little bit here. So I'm going to put a little bit more yellow right here in this corner where we're working on the lighter side. Okay, I'm going to put some white in there, and I'm just going to drag in some of this darker color. So we'll see if you guys can see this. And we'll just kind of put some color in there. Now again, I didn't mix it all the way. You can see individual pieces. And this difference in color is what starts to show those variations in the path itself, okay? So this is going to be a very light touch. So right here in the front is where I'm going to want to start this, and we can just kind of put a little bit back as we have less on the knife. So the closer it is to you, the brighter and more detailed it's going to be. So again, this is a very light pressure, okay? Almost no pressure. Okay, so we just want a little bit to come off the knife as we start to do that little break. And it doesn't hold a lot. Okay, this little short edge is the one that I'm using to kind of work in some of these little areas. Okay, and the lighter your pressure is, the less that will come off on this. Okay, so we just want it to break a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, and that directional change is what gives that indication of the path going in a different direction. Okay, so nice and light. We're just adding a little bit of these tones in here, and you can break them down and change them in any direction you want. Okay, so again, when we're painting these guys, I'm just showing you some techniques on how you can break things up and how you can make certain parts of this. Okay, so I'm not doing a very good job getting this to break because this paint is very thin. If you ever do oil painting and you watch Bob Ross, that guy makes it look so easy because the oil paint is so much thicker. Okay, it's a little more forgiving in this breaking technique. Okay, so when we're trying to get this on here, you really got to practice a light touch. I just want to get some of this indication of the path. Okay, and again, as we get less and less of this, we can put some in the background here. Okay, we don't want too much. We don't want it to look too light. The farther it is away, the darker it tends to be. Okay, so we can just put a couple little extra swipes of the white in there and kind of lighten this up a little bit. Okay, so this isn't really the lightest path we've ever seen. Alright, let me get some on the tip of my knife here. Okay, and again, we'll just nice and light. Okay, so we want these little color breaks. So again, guys, just play with this. Have a good time with it. We're just focusing on one little piece of the path at a time. Okay, and again, if you smear some of it, that's okay. You can add some little breaks in your path, however you want them to show up. Okay, and we're going to cover up sort of the edge of this path as well with a little bit more of the rocks. Okay, so we haven't really gotten into rocks yet in this little one. Okay, so I'm just sort of giving some indications over here of this finishing off. Okay, and I'm just going to come back through and sort of scrape. Okay, so not only does this thin out the paint, but it puts some streaks in it, which again help indicate direction of the path travel, but it also puts some holes in the paint. Okay, so a little more right there. Okay, and you can keep this again going in the direction of travel of your path. Sort of distribute this out. Let this sort of come back into the nothing of the corner. Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna tip just the corner of this in here now. Okay, I might go a little bit darker with this color. Alright, scrape this out, get just some on the tip here so that I can come back in the back and use just the tip of this to indicate some of this path. And again, the angle you hold this knife at is what indicates how much pressure you're going to bring out of it. Okay? So I really want to just nice and light here. Really give that indication of where that path's been going up on the back. Okay, so I'm really enjoying putting some pieces in here and sort of showing it light and dark and all that sort of thing. Okay, so we don't want this to be a straight path. All right, we really want to have that nice little bits of break in the path. Oh, there we go. So see, if you play with it just a little bit, you can really change change the whole feel of the path. Okay, so getting some paint on there the first time is just kind of the starting point, and then you can play with it to your heart's content. So we've sort of got an indication here. I want to add just a little bit more of the dark back in. So again, I'm just going to grab some of this burnt umber, I think is the color of it here. Okay, so this is a very stark contrast color. Okay, so I just want to put little indications of some of this color break. All right, just a little bit on the knife. Okay, and I'm going to bring this in through here, and these are the areas that really start to show the shadows. Okay, so we can turn our knife sideways and just tip it a bit and really help indicate some of that direction of travel. All right, now the dark also helps indicate shadow on the edge here. So I really want this to be sort of a darker color in the back where this starts to go sort of a downhill. Okay, so scrubbing out some of this lighter color where it transitions. Okay, we can kind of meld these colors and it sort of looks like it goes down a bit. Okay, so anywhere you want it to have sort of a crease. All right, so right in here, again, I'm going to grab some of this darker color, just a little bit on the edge, okay, and sort of add a little bit back in here. So this sort of looks like it is at the edge of a thing, okay. All right, and so a lot of this can just come back and forth, light and dark, and you can play with this to your heart's content, okay, and really just sort of showing where that goes off in the back and getting a little bit more detailed as it comes forward. Okay. And this break of the color, guys, little bits here and there, that's what gives it that feeling of movement. And that's what I'm looking for, a feeling of movement. Okay, so we can break this up and give it some little indicators. Okay, so again, we could play with this back and forth as much as we want. Realize too, guys, this will dry slightly lighter than what it is when you initially add it on. Okay, so if it's feeling like it's super light, sometimes that's okay, but it does darken a bit. Okay, there we go, just indications. All right, I like it. Out. And this little knife is very versatile, guys. We've been doing a lot of work with the brushes and all that sort of thing, but we wanna give some props to this old knife. I'm not sure if it's something Bob put together himself, but boy, it's a handy tool. You can do a lot of cool things with it. So I want to not try to work forever on this, but that direction of the stroke is really the thing that shows where the path is going. Okay, again, keep this nice and flat up here, and it shows you the direction to travel. All right, so we got a cool little path going on, indicates some things happening. It kind of leads off into the mountains, and over here it just kind of maybe comes up to a lookout ridge over the water, whatever it may be. And again, guys, you can paint this story as much as you like. Okay, so if you want it to be a little more distinct in some of the path, you can add a little more of the white in yourself and really give it some pops. Okay, but if you really want it to keep dark and natural, it's totally up to you. All right, so I'm showing you some of the techniques that really allow us to give indications of things, and that's really what Impressionist painting is all about, is just indicating what could be happening in a certain area of the picture, and then letting the rest be made up by the mind. What is the story that your mind says about that situation, and what could possibly be going on in that little area? Again, every time I get done with a painting, someone always asks me, "Oh, where is that?" Okay, so people People want to feel like this is a place that they can imagine really being there. So these little stories about the path and what's going on within it, these are the pieces that make it so much more fun for you to want to not only finish the project, but to share it with people. And that's a lot of the magic of what Bob Ross taught me, was to share your gift. Once you get something that really stands out and makes you feel like you can do it, give it to somebody else to experience, because maybe they need something like that in their own world. Maybe they need something that says, hey, I actually have some skills, I have something I'm interested in, I'd like to pursue that little endeavor. Okay? Life is busy, guys. A lot of times we really get caught up in just trying to prepare for tomorrow. What is tomorrow going to be like that I can do today and try to make some progress and hope for a better future? Well, really, guys, the meaning of life is to be happy. And we only ever live in the now. Time doesn't really exist either. So we have today. And then tomorrow is just a today we haven't gotten to. So try to really enjoy yourself. Make days purposely enjoyable. Find some things that you enjoy doing and experience those. Schedule them. You have to prioritize the things that you really want to do. I didn't used to paint. This has kind of been a new thing, and I've prioritized. I've added it into my life, and now it's something I really look forward to and enjoy. I get such a pleasure of putting this paint on the canvas and making it. Ooh, there's some nice yellow popped out. Sorry. Had a little more on the paint than I thought. But I really enjoy this, and this is something that brings me a lot of happiness, and I get to look forward to it and then sharing it with you guys, and feeling like not only do I enjoy it, but other people also enjoy seeing these sorts of things. So you'll be surprised once you start to share what it is that excites you, how much it also will excite those around you. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. We've got our little path in here, and we're going to continue on with this painting as we move forward. So I guess we'll see you in the next video.